Hi guys, and welcome to lecture 10 of Python programming with me, Mace. So in this lecture we're going to be going over functions in Python, and unlike the other videos we've been doing, if statements, else, conditions, loops, variables, operators, bitwise, unlike those, functions are more or less used to make your code more reusable, readable, and neater. So let's go over what functions are. So what do functions do? So you see my little program here, which takes in the radius, the height, and it prints math.pi, and math.pi is just the pi, just pi, 3.14, so on. I've imported math, which we'll talk about later, libraries. But for now, just assume math.pi to be 3.14, times radius squared, so remember that's squared, times height. And actually one more thing, we can do this float, so it takes in float, which is, as you know, decimal. And if we run this, and we'll call this lect 10, what is the radius? So we'll do the radius to 1.75, 2.75. What is the height? We'll make it 12. Oh, whoops. Since when did that get in there? Anyway, okay, never mind that. I did not see that. It's hard to see it. 2.75, 12, and it returns 285.099. which is the volume of this cylinder. So as you can see, and if you recognize it, this is the formula for calculating the volume of a cylinder. And as you can see on Google, this is your volume, so we took the pi times the radius squared times height. So you can see this code works, and it does the correct formula and it returns the right value. However, what if we wanted to call this multiple times? What if we wanted to do, let's copy this, and we wanted to do this but with different numbers? What if we wanted to make the user do different things? What if we wanted to have that cylinder function but something so easy that all you have to do is calculate cylinder, and you all have to do is pass in the radius and the height? Wouldn't that be easy? And you can do it. And that's what functions are for. Instead of writing all of this down, we can compact it all into calculate cylinder, and we can choose what calculate cylinder does. So how do we do that? So let's just go rid of, actually no, we'll get rid of this, and we'll keep everything else. Okay, so how do we do this? Say we have this function, and well, we're going to be using functions. How we declare a function is def, defining the function, and then you can name it. So right now we've got calculate cylinder, so we'll keep it at that. Calculate cylinder, and takes in radius and height. So we'll talk about what it actually takes in later. They are called parameters. But for now, let's just see how this works. And we'll do the same formula. But this time, instead of print, we do return. And I'll talk about what return does. Okay. So that is our same function. And it does literally, I can get rid of this now, the same thing. These lines of code literally do the same thing, but now what you can do is call it multiple times. You can calculate cylinder again. So it just makes it way easier and more reusable. So now that we know what it actually does, let's go through what a function, or the parts of a function. So you have the defining, the name, then in the parentheses you have your parameters. And what parameters are, they take in a value externally. So when you call a function, you can input these two values, because how are you supposed to calculate the volume of something if you don't provide the radius and the height. And that's where parameters come in. They take everything that you need and do whatever you want to do with it. So right now all we needed is radius and the height. So when we declare the function, we'll just do calculate cylinder, input the radius, which is this, and the height, which is this. Put them together, and that is there. Now, what's important to understand is you can rename this whatever you want. You can call this rad and high, and it will still be the same functions. It's just the comma that matters, really. Well, it's just going to be in the same order. So when you type radius and height from here, and then you do calculate cylinder, rad will be the radius because it's the first one, and height will be height. And you can put as many parameters as you want. You can do, I don't know, volume, and then you can name it vol. And all three of them are the same thing. But right now, let's just keep it with radius and height. So then we don't have to change that. So now that we've done that, we put a semicolon in like we would do with for loops, if statements, so on. So yeah, now we're going to talk about the return. What return does is you can do this function, and when you do calculate cylinder, it needs to return something. Because when you're calculating cylinder, it's going to look for the function calculate cylinder. When it finds it, it's going to look at the parameters, which you should have entered. Oh, let's get rid of that. And then it's going to return something. The function's going to return something. And what that is what you want to get out of it. So calculate cylinder, you want to get the volume out of it, right? Because that is that's the formula for volume. So return math.py times radius squared times height. And that returns the that returns the volume. And so return just is the result. And in fact, when you do return, we have to print it, or we can create a variable. So we can just do a equals calculate cylinder, and then we can print a. So how does this actually work? Let's have a look. What is the radius? 2.75. So it does the exact same thing. Oh, did I spell it wrong? I bet I spelled it wrong. Calculate cylinder. Okay, I'll rename it. Calculate cylinder. What is the radius? 2.7512. Oh, whoops. One more thing. We should always put the function above in Python. 2.7512 to 85. So it does the exact same thing. But now, when we want to do it, all we got to do is print calculate cylinder so we can do this again, radius, pass in height, and then we can run it, and we can do 3, and it will do it both times. So now that we know how to do that and make a simple function, let's combine everything we've learned, if statements, for loops, and functions together to do a practice question. Okay, our practice is make a function that takes two numbers. Actually, I'll move this because this is near the bottom of the screen. There you go. Okay, make a function that takes two numbers. So we'll do that right now. Def. And wait, what does it do? Okay, it does calculating, I forgot. So it calculates something, so we'll call it calculator. And it takes in two numbers, so we'll call them num1, num2. And it lets you choose one of four operators. Plus, minus, divided, multiplying, and returns the value of num1 operator num2. So num1 times num2, num1 plus 2, num1 divided by 2, and num1 minus 2. And so I encourage you right now that I've created a blueprint, so we'll just do one more thing, return number. I encourage you to do it yourself. We'll look at the extension later, just this right now. And remember, you can assign plus to 1. You can do type 1 and you'll get plus. And this, I encourage you to do it right now. Okay. Okay, so I assume that you've done it now. Let's look at it. So it takes 2 numbers and you can choose what operator it does. So your first one will be operator equals input. So you are asking for input, and then what operator would you like to do? And we can do 1 equals plus. We'll just put brackets there. 1 equals plus, 2 equals minus, 3 equals divide, 4 equals multiply. And that will ask for the input, and we'll actually make sure it's integer. Okay, so now that you've got the operator, we want to check if the operator equals 1, then we want to conduct plus with num1 and num2. So we'll do if operator equals 1, then we want to return, remember, num1 plus num2. And that's easy, because if the operator is 1, it will return num1 plus num2. And we'll just copy that. And then we'll do elif operator equals 2. And that would be minus, so we do num plus minus num2. Whoops. Minus num2. And we'll do our next one, which is another elif operator equals 3. And then we'll do num1 divided by num2. And our last one is going to be operator equals 4. Then we'll do num1 times num2. And just to make this better, you can do else. We'll do print actually. Print. Actually, no, we'll do return. Return. You did something wrong. We don't even need these. You did something wrong. Okay. And what that should do now, if we actually, I'm just gonna get rid of the calculate cylinder. And now we can call our calculator function. And we want num1 and num2, so we can make num1 2 and num2 4. Sounds weird. Fi. Okay. What is the radius? Oh yeah, this is from my last one. What operation would you like to do? So right now, we're doing an operation with 2 and 4, so let's do 4. And it returns something. So we forgot to print it. So this time we'll do a very bad variable name. Let's just move this down. A equals calculator 2, 4. We're going to do print a. And if we run it now, what is the radius? 3, 3. What would you like to do? So we'll do multiplying. You did something wrong. Int input. So let's do string input. Now if we do this, 8. So I didn't actually notice that. I put int. Yeah, no, it's because this is reading a string. Okay, so now that we've done that, I encourage you to take this program that we've made and apply the extension. Make the function repeat if the user wishes so with loops. And we can actually add another thing. Inside the function, ask for the numbers as well. numbers as well. Actually, I'll just go ask for the numbers as well. So that will ask for the numbers inside the function. So I encourage you to do it by yourself right now, and I'll do it afterwards. Okay, so let's get to this. So we want calculator to keep on going until the user says no. So right now we want something to, we want a key that will quit the program. So we'll do press Q to quit. And just to make it look nice, we'll make the Q a capital. And right now you will not be able to see it. So we'll just do, oh, whoops. There we go. And you won't be able to see that. I'll actually, yeah, no, it's just the divided 4 equals multiplication. So now it's press Q to quit. And one thing we have to do is lower the operator. So what lower does is it takes it and makes it lowercase. And that's really useful because if they type a capital Q or a lowercase q, they will both work. So now we can do elif operator equals Q, and we can do B equals false. So I'll talk about what B is. So we're doing a while loop right now to make it go around and around. So to do that, we'll just go while B equals true, and we can indent all of this by doing control. While B equals true, it does all of this, and we need to declare B before B equals true. So now what it does is, if you press Q, B will become false, and the next time it loops through, it will check if B is true. But because we've updated the value to false, it will stop. So now, if we run this, what operation would you like to do? Actually, I'll drag this all in. So what if we do 4, 8? So why doesn't it loop around? And it's because what happens is when you return something, the program automatically stops. So what we need to do instead of returning is we need to print. And we need to print this. Because returning actually automatically stops your function, and it stops it from, it doesn't read anything afterwards, which means the loop doesn't really happen. So the only use for functions really is returning. Once it's returned, its job is done, and it doesn't do anything else. So now if we do this, what operation would you like to do? 3. And now you can see that it just keeps on going, because what it's doing is printing over and over and over again the same thing. And that's where what I was saying about the ask for numbers as well. So this time it won't take any parameters. When we call it, it will not take any parameters. So we'll just move this down actually, so you can see, yeah. So it doesn't take any parameters, and it actually asks for the 2 numbers. So we'll go num1 equals int input first number, right? Oh, 2 dots. That's not good. I don't like that. First number, we'll copy that. Control C. Okay. And we'll do num2 equals input second number. Now what we should see happening is run it. Okay. Oh, whoops. I should have put that one back. And F5, run. What is the radius? So this is our last one. What operation would you like to do? It asks that before. It's okay. We'll do 2 today. First number 3. Second number 5. It returns -2. So what was it actually? It was minus. Oh, it was 3 minus 5. And now it asks for first number again. 5, 6. And it does 5 minus 6. So that meets our requirements. Okay, we want to kill it. And so that is your function. And what it now does is, instead of making separate calculators every time, all you got to do is do these 2 lines. These 2 lines only. And you have your own pocket calculator that does 4 operations. But whatever. It does 4 operations, and that's good enough. So that wraps it up for this video on functions, the only video we're doing on functions. And in the next video, we're going to be getting onto classes, which are closely tied with functions. In fact, classes and functions go together. They really go together. Functions are part of classes. And so that concludes it for this video, and we'll be continuing the chapter in the next video. Thanks!